This week's episode is brought to you in partnership with Zero Procure, who are here to make procurement simple. Zero Procure harnesses a network of specialists to ensure that businesses are working with the right suppliers at the right price. Hospitality Meets is delighted to partner with the Zero Procure team and their network to help keep this podcast accessible and free to listen to. Please get in touch with them for a chat. Just click on their link in the show notes or visit their site at zeroprocure.com/podcast. Welcome to a special episode of Hospitality Meets with me, Phil Street. In our bonus episodes, we like to give some airtime to stories and individuals that are doing something just that little bit special. Today's guest is Gill, Tiney, queen of all things collaboration and founder of Collaboration Global. Coming up on today's show, Gill gives us some wonderful advice.
Don't put a dozen business coaches in the room, it's like herding cats.
Phil makes a grave error. Oh my god, I have to edit that out. And we learn that when talking about politics, some phrases don't age well.
So I'm like, well, what can I do? Well, I can't go and talk to Liz Truss.
All that and so much more as Gill and I talk about all things collaboration. I'm a staunch advocate for collaborating, and hopefully there's more than enough in our chat to whet your appetite as well. A huge thank you to Gill for being so open. Please don't forget to subscribe to the show wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really does make a huge difference. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to the next episode of Hospitality Meets with me, Phil Street. Now, when I started this podcast, there was all manner of things that I had running through my head around the types of conversation that I wanted to have and the types of people I'd love to have on the show. Now, you've probably heard, if you're an avid listener of the show, that I talk a lot about collaboration and how it could be the saviour of our industry, or certainly one part of that. Well, it gives me huge pleasure to welcome the Queen of Collaboration, founder of Collaboration Global and writer of 2 books on the subject, which we will no doubt talk about as well. A massive Hospitality Meets welcome to Gill, Tiney.
Wow. Thank you, Phil. What an introduction. Lovely to be here. And it's an absolute joy to be chatting to you again, because I love having conversations with you.
Oh, bless you. Yeah, well, this is a kind of turn the tables as well, because you've been kind enough to have me on your show. You also have a podcast. Sorry, I should have mentioned that in the intro as well. But yeah, you and I are cut from similar cloth, I think. We've spoken openly, haven't we, to each other around the fact that we are the shiny new thing people and get excited and optimistic about many, many things.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think that there are not very many optimists around that are quite so, we wear it on our sleeve with pride. I've had people accuse me of being an optimist like it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's your problem? Yeah, somebody's got to have a positive outlook on life. And I think that's why we end up gelling so much. And when we have you've got a couple of minutes and that's an hour later conversation, because we have got this, when you have that optimistic mindset, you can see all the possibilities that are out there. And then it's this bright, shiny object. Oh, let's do this. No, let's do that. Oh, there's that as well.
Yeah.
Where do you stop? But, you know, if you can't be optimistic with your life, no matter where it's come from or where you are in the space, then, you know, my nan always used to tell me when she was 96 years of age, and she remembers Queen Victoria's funeral. Sadly, no longer with us, but she used to say, always look for the silver lining. Sometimes you have to look really hard, but it's always there.
Yeah, well, I mean, we live in a time where that stretches the capability in that realm, doesn't it? But no, I've always just I have a saying that runs through my head that kind of makes up part of my DNA, which is that everything is possible with optimism. And nothing is possible with pessimism, right? Other than pessimism. So
that is never a truer word. That's a beautiful. That's your bumper sticker. Put that on your merch.
Yeah,
I love that one.
Absolutely. I'll definitely. There's loads and loads of T-shirts being printed in the future for sure.
Yeah.
How are you anyway? It's been a while.
I'm good, thank you. I've just come back from sunny Cyprus, where my optimistic side went, oh, we could have a book writing retreat here. It would be so good. So hopefully next October, I'll let you know. It'd be lovely to have you over there, because I found the most beautiful place. And ironically, it's a bit like the Lourdes of Cyprus, where they've got health waters that you can imbibe. And it's the wonderful spa, so you can go and chill out. But in the morning, you can get focused on your book. In the afternoon, you can write a little bit and then go to the spa and have a nice massage. So it's my idea of heaven.
Yeah,
I just want to go. If people want to come with me, that's great. But so that was a holiday. And I'm now currently doing a massive challenge to reboot my business from the point of view of getting back your mojo. Sometimes you come back from holiday and it's like, back in the
Yeah, well, it
grind,
kind of
back
goes
in
one of
the
two ways, doesn't it? You come back and you're like, oh, I go have to do this again,
yeah.
or it's well, I'm completely reinvigorated and let's just crack on and change the world again.
Yeah. I think I was reinvigorated, to be fair. I'd signed up for this challenge before I went away. But it's really good if you put energy and reinvigoration with somebody that's given you massive mojo motivation. I'm on fire. So
Yeah,
it's like I'm getting up at like 5:30 in the morning. I'm doing the homework of the challenge. I'm planning my retreat. I'm getting things done. And there are little things that are happening, like technology when it's not working very well. It's not getting me down. I'm like, okay, I'll move that to one side and I'll think about something that I can do.
yeah.
So this week my productivity has gone through the roof. I wish I could just put that in a tablet and take it when I do feel my mojo is down, because we all do that, don't we? Every so often it's like, I want to do that day, I don't want to do this, and other days it's like, I wouldn't do anything else in the world. It's amazing. You
Frankly,
have to.
I had one of those days today. To be honest, I'm in the middle of a challenge at the moment. It's not a business challenge. It's for charity. I'm part of a team that's walking, cycling, swimming, running any which way they
Whoa,
can to Qatar and back
no
virtually.
way, that's amazing.
And today we actually made it 50% of the way there in 40% of the time. So we're ahead of schedule.
Wow.
But I've upped the ante on my exercise level for the last 10 to 12 days actually. And I think today it caught up with me a little bit. I've just
Yeah.
felt a little bit sleepy and a little bit kind of maybe my body just needs a
Mm.
rest. Which, I mean, it's great for the soul, of course, but it's also, you've got to listen to what's going on inside.
I am a big advocate of intuition and listening to your body, and we often don't want to stop because our mindset is like, oh, I'll be lazy, that's no good, I can't be lazy, that's not a good thing. Where in actual fact, just to take a break. In fact, before I came on this call, I had a cup of tea and I thought, I'm going to watch a little bit of Tipping Point, just a
Right?
quiz show, 10
Yeah.
minutes. It just made me go, that's nice, I have a different outlook now, rather than clicking on to one person, then talking to the next person, then having this ongoing thing. So
Yeah.
sometimes you just have to allow yourself to take time out and forgive yourself for not being 110% all the time.
Totally, and I think that's massively important in leadership, isn't it? I mean, that's another saying. There'll be a few of them, I think, by the close of business today. But the your proper leadership begins with leadership of yourself, and
Mm,
so when I think in the olden days, he says in inverted commas, it used
yourself.
to be that the leader was the one who just soldiered on through, and everybody would look up to him and go,
Hmm.
look at that, I have to aspire to be like that.
Yes.
And that kind of lunches for wimps mentality. Whereas now,
Mhm.
I think it is, you've actually, showing your vulnerability is actually a massive part of leadership, and it makes people, or certainly helps people around you identify that, none of us are perfect and we all have our moments. It's
Mm.
about listening to yourself and then how you respond. That's how we all move forward.
Yeah, I don't think this leadership of a lot of parenting was done in this way. Don't do as I do, do as I tell you.
Mhm.
uh, Kind of top down mentality of like, I'm in charge, I know the answers, I'm the clever one, you do as I say. That doesn't hold weight anymore. People don't listen to that because they're like, you're not walking the talk. If you were doing things that would inspire me and I go, I would like to be like you, then I will follow you to the ends of the earth. But what you're doing is turning up late, going home early, not getting the work done, not being kind and caring and understanding, but just being the leader of, as you say, the hierarchy, the top down command and control
Yeah.
kind of leader. And I think from our perspective, we've seen that shift, that change. If you're a fan of Simon Sinek, you kind of get it sucked into you. And he's right. It's leaders serve, leaders eat last. Leaders are there to care for you. The servant leader is the way forward now.
Yeah.
And I think in an environment that doesn't have that, it tends to have a culture that borders on the toxic, where there is no caring, there is no understanding, there is no comprehension of good mental health. And you find that there are little things. And I don't know about you, but if I walk into a place, whether it's a hotel or a restaurant or wherever, I can feel the culture.
Oh,
If
totally.
staff
Instantly.
aren't happy, You can see it a mile off. And I don't enjoy, the food doesn't taste as good when there's a toxic culture there. It's not made with love. But when everyone cares about what's going on, it's like, oh, I'll stay here all day. I'll order some more. Give me another glass of wine. Make it a bottle. Whatever it is, you feel it, don't you? And I think that comes from the top down. And that person that owns that restaurant or that hotel are the ones that are putting that love into what they do, and everybody experiences it. And obviously you said in the intro about me and being passionate about collaboration. And I think in the old days, collaboration was all about, what's in it for me? What am I going to get out of this collaboration? How much money are you going to make? So how much do I make out of this? And it was all very transactional. Now I advocate that true collaboration is about love and connection and a mindset of abundance. And that kind of changes the whole emphasis. And so people come to a collaboration in my world with so how can I help? What could I do? This is my genius. This is what I love to do. So how could I put that into this space and help you with what you're doing? And then all of a sudden, I get paid as well. That's great, fantastic. But the money isn't the sole reason for getting a collaboration. But it doesn't stop it happening. It doesn't stop us making money. It's not a dirty word. But when you come to something from a place of love, everything becomes easier, becomes multipliable, and becomes repeatable. People will want to do it again and again because they had such a good time. Why would you not want to do that again?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so massively important in kind of any sector, but think about a sector that is so reliant on people to, to make it excellent. And if you think about the very basics of what collaboration is within hospitality, there's no dinner served if the chef hasn't cooked it, if the kitchen porter hasn't cleaned the plates, if the purchasing person hasn't ordered the ingredients, if the farmer hasn't grown the ingredients, and so on and so forth. There's collaboration all the way through the process from farm to fork. That's the saying.
The phrase, yeah. But
yeah, I really want to get into collaboration in a lot more depth. But actually, what I really would also like to do is establish, because it dawned on me as I was kind of writing out some questions to ask you, is that we've known each other now for a good couple 2, 3, 4 years, something like that. And I kind of loosely know your story, and I kind of loosely know how you got to be doing this, but I don't really know. And I think that the thing that this is why this podcast exists, is that I'm just obsessed with people's journeys and how they become who they become. Just tell us what you used to do and how did you start becoming this sort of collaborative guru?
Guru sounds so funny. Well, Phil, let me tell you the story. It started when I was about 4. No, right. I won't go that far back. It's all right. But I do remember looking at life when I was a kid and going, that's not fair. And being highlighted by my mother that I was different to my school friends because they had black skin and I had white skin. And I hadn't even seen it at the age of 6. Right. So it was like, I didn't like difference being a problem. I wanted difference to be a celebration. So my whole life I've spent bringing people together. When we got married at tender age of 21, about 4 years ago.
Of course. that long, Gill, that long.
Love you. We had 14 different nationalities at our wedding. It was like globe of nations. It was absolutely wonderful. So it's bringing people together has been my thing, and connecting with people and being there for them, and then going, oh, you do that and you do that, and spotting what their genius was and what they were really good at. So fast forward to 2012, and I was at a networking event, and there was a guy that came up to me and went, oh, hi, Gill, how you doing? It's great, chat. He said, oh, see that guy over there? I'm like, yeah. He's a business coach. You don't want to talk to him. He's your competition. I'll protect you from him. I was like, what? I said, he's a business coach. That's what I do. I need to go and talk to him.
Yeah.
So I was like, I couldn't understand this mentality of like, he's my competition. Nobody's my competition, right? Not that I'm the best in the world, because there isn't a best in the world. We're all different. And that's a good thing. So I was curious to see, well, hey, how do you do your business coaching? Let's see if we can share. Let's see if we can support each other. Fast forward 18 months and we were business partners, me and this business coach.
Right.
And what we worked out is when you go to a client, you say, I do this, I do this, I do this, I can help you this, I can solve this problem, I can solve this problem. In reality, this is the bit you love doing, this is the bit he loved doing, and neither of us like doing that bit over there. So we're like, okay, well, we'll get someone else to do that bit over there. And then when we go to the client, there's two of us, bigger organization, together, we're going to look fantastic. And then they're going to take us on. We might not necessarily do the work together, highly unlikely. We'd go in individually, or sometimes we'd both go to the interview and he would go in and do the work and I'd just get a piece of the pie, and vice versa, depending on what the client needed. So the client got the best of both of us. Neither of us had to do the stuff that we were like, oh God. So mine was communication, his was purpose and culture. So I could, rather than me have to sit down and explain why you need a good culture, it's like, duh, don't you know that? I didn't have to do that because he could do that. He loved that bit. And I could talk about how are you going to communicate with your prospects, with your staff, with your suppliers, how are you going to get your brand out there? How's your marketing going to go? I was on fire. I love that bit. Neither of us like talking about the finance bit. I can do that stuff, right? I can talk about the income and the project forecast and all that, but I don't enjoy it.
Right.
We got someone else in. So then
collaborating. Who'd have thought?
Who'd have thought? And it was so easy and simple. But we kept coming across people that thought we were like weird because of what we were doing, and we started conversations with people about collaboration and how together you're stronger and you can support each other and you can do this and create more things. And people are like, brilliant, fantastic. How do I join? And we're like, what? Join what?
Join what? Yeah.
Yeah. And like, nothing. And so we started having these little meetings at my old office in Sawbridgeworth, which was a beautiful stately home. I remember those days well. It's a gorgeous place. And we had lovely meetings there. And then bit by bit we're saying, right, well, we've had the meeting. I want to join. How much is it? And then we said, okay. So before we knew it, we had over in Essex, we had a face-to-face meeting. Then we had one in Hertford. Then we had one in London. Then we had one in Surrey. Then we had one in Liverpool. And it got bigger and bigger.
Right. Yeah.
So the concept of it, then we had the platform and being online, but people didn't like being online. They liked being face-to-face. And we were teaching each other about collaboration. We were teaching each other about business. We were teaching each other about personal development. They all go together. You cannot collaborate unless you know who the hell you are. Your business benefits from you knowing who the hell you are. And then when your business is ready, collaboration becomes much easier. And then the sort of other part of that was to pay it forward and help other people that were less able than you to collaborate. So we were teaching other people and other communities to collaborate. And then came the pandemic. So my business partner, he was more, let's have a revolution. He was a big fan of the conspiracy theory and he wanted to change the world come hell or high water. And I was like, but if we just love each other and come together and keep on doing the right thing and having integrity and connecting more deeply to each other rather than going, so what do you do? Which doesn't light my fire. I don't care how you make your money. I want to know what makes your heart beat faster. What are you passionate about? What do you love doing? What's your genius? So we parted ways, relatively amicably. So I was carrying on doing what I was doing, but the business kind of went with him. So we were B Collaboration, and then I morphed into Collaboration Global. But you know what? God bless the pandemic, because we went online and I didn't have to travel to London and Surrey and Liverpool and all those places. And the magic remained. That's what's the beauty of it, is that the essence of what we're about is like, if we don't come together to support each other and share this with as many people as possible, then the world is going to go to hell in a handcart. We're going in this downward spiral and all the solutions are already out there, but we're not collaborating to get them done.
Yeah.
It just seems crazy to me to be in that. So I'm like, well, what can I do? Well, I can't go and talk to Liz Truss. I can't go and talk to, the head of the United Nations. I can't at the moment.
Not yet.
Give me time. But I just felt I wanted to prove that coming together and collaborating is something that has a massive impact. And bit by bit, we're experimenting and we're trying things. So we've got the podcast is a collaboration. The online publication is a collaboration. All of these things are like, let's try it out. And I've done collaborations with members of our community that have been absolute pants. And, from that, I've learned a hell of a lot. Don't put a dozen business coaches in the room. It's like herding cats. It really is difficult. And also, if you've got an ego and you think I know best, and don't tell my husband, but I tell him that I do, but I don't. Nobody knows best. But when you're coming to a collaboration with that philosophy of like, yeah, do they know what they're talking about? What, you're ridiculous. You get nowhere fast. So it's really having this mindset change of how can we be the best that we can be when we come together, and where will that take us? What journey will that take us?
Yeah.
Really, for the past 10 years, I've been researching around society, anthropology, different theories that are going on, different societies that are out there, people that are currently doing things, amazing things. For example, there's a guy in South Africa who has, I've forgotten the name of it, begins with a B. Benito? No. Anyway, he's managed to talk about societies without money, and how you not so much do an exchange per se, but how you function without money. And he actually got a town in Canada to trial it. So you were getting daily or weekly updates from the mayor of the town to say how it's going with his town, not having this exchange of cash.
Right.
Although real cashless now anyway, but you know what I mean? It was that kind of,
Yeah.
there are other ways to live. And I've kind of come across the people who share. Benita Matowska is a classic one, where we don't need to have stuff all the time. We can share it and we can make a difference. So I think from my experience, I believe it's possible. And I'm now at the stage where we've got a beautifully formed community. It's small, it's not as big as I'd like, to be fair, but that's my learning curve that I've been going through. Because if we had 500 members 2 years ago, I would have crashed and burned. It wouldn't have worked. But
Right.
now we've got things in place where if 500 people wanted to join tomorrow, I'd be like, bring it on, let's do this. And then we can tip the edge and really start to make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's it's a cliche again, another saying. Who'd have thought?
I should be writing this down.
But it's a journey, right? That's the thing, and it's about making sure that you enjoy the journey as much as you can all the way through, but also accept that there's going to be bumps, accept that there's going to be things that don't quite go the way that you thought. But the point is that at least you're trying, and in that process you will win some, lose some. Some people will join you, some people will leave you, and then you'll be left with that base of that foundation of membership that really gets it and really understands and really wants to be the difference. Will give you, and I know this for a fact because I have been on the inside, and I know that you have some amazing people within your midst, and I'm still there.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's one of those things. I suppose you've laid it now. You're on a path. So I suppose the next question is, because you have also written about the subject twice, and I would imagine there'll be more flying around your head as well. But yeah, just give us an overview of your two books.
Well, there's 4 actually, but only 2
Oh my
about
God, I have to edit
collaboration.
that out.
No, it's okay. Because the first one was the business book. So that, I'm still by day a business coach, and by every other spare minute is Collaboration Global. The first collaboration book was me just acknowledging why collaboration is so important. So it looks at the global picture and how it comes down from the global to what would our world look like if everybody stopped mucking about, having wars and things, and actually got together and did some good and were kind to each other. I know kindness is your big bag as well. And it's not, I know we're both optimists, and it's not that difficult to be kind. And I believe 98.9% of the population are kind, and it's the odd 1 or 2 that we hear about all the time. And we think the world has gone mad, but it's not true. Most people are like you and me. More. Yeah, exactly.
It's so the kindness is a choice, right? It's just beautiful. About our strength to be able to choose kindness in the moments when you're tested the most. And that's, some people come up short, and some people, and we all come up short, to be honest. There's there's nobody in the world that could profess to being 100% kind 100% of the time. No. There's moments of weakness in all of us, but it's about making sure that your moments of weakness are way less than your moments of strength.
And that comes from understanding who the hell you are. And that, for people that have never experienced or explored personal development, I don't like that phrase. Come up with a bumper sticker.
And it's something a bit more pizzazzy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like a bit more interesting.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it's like those who've never done it, you can see that they've never done it from the way they react as opposed to respond, the way they have their trigger emotions because of things maybe in their past that they've not even considered are informing their future.
yeah,
And it's kind of when you get that awareness around, okay, 10 years ago, I knew 1% of who I was. And now, 10 years later, I know 3% of
yeah.
who I am. It's an ongoing journey. You're
It
never really
is.
going to
No,
get to the end of it. But if you can learn enough to live on this planet with care for another human being, then you're 90% of the way there. And you've heard me say this before, but one of the values of Collaboration Global is human being first. So my belief is that we're all connected. No matter where you are in the world, whoever it is, we say we don't care whether you are black or white or sky blue, pink, gay or straight, can't decide, short or tall, fat or thin, old or young, able bodied, disabled, whatever your difference, that label of, the diversity. Diversity is a positive thing. Whatever your difference in the world is, it's a good thing. And let's bring people together because we've all got something to teach each other.
yeah,
And when you recognize that we are all energy on this planet, we are all connected through that energy, through the molecules and the essence of who we are in this space. And we are renewing ourselves all the time. We kind of have to acknowledge that why are we just killing each other? Why are
mm,
we causing the problems? And it's like everyone's worried about climate change. Well, you know what? The world's going to be fine. We're going to be like the dinosaurs. We'll be out of here. That
yeah,
we're killing ourselves. So that's where collaboration at the global space comes in. And then I look at the practical around why we should collaborate in business, but not in the way that we have been brought up to collaborate in, as I said earlier, not the transactional, but from a heart-led centered point of view. And then if you take it back to the individual, you think, well, how could an individual collaborate? Well, it's understanding who you are in order to collaborate. So there's the three sort of pronged attack. So that's what the first book was about. Why? Why would you collaborate? You don't have to. Oh, I'm introvert. I'm not going to collaborate. I'm good. I'm fine. We're all connected. Come on, you're going to need something.
yeah,
You can't do everything on your own. So don't be that person in the corner going, I'm fine, thank you. Because loneliness is the pandemic that we're currently going through. We've had the COVID, and now because we've shut ourselves at home working, and we're like, yeah, I haven't got to get on the train anymore, but I haven't spoken to anyone for 3 days. It's
yeah.
just a weird feeling. So that's the pandemic we have to be aware of. The second book, I got really practical, and it's like, hey guys, this is how you do it. Now it's my version of how you do it. So it's not the definitive. Everyone will do it slightly differently. But you know what? If you haven't got a clue or you've done collaborations that didn't work, if you just follow the basics in the book, together we can do something wonderful. It gives you a huge outline and what will happen if it goes wrong, and how do you know if it's gone right, and what happens afterwards. So there's that pay it forward element as well in the end. So that's how the two books marry up. And one day I'll get around to putting them both together because at the moment they're two separate ones.
Right. Yeah, but I suppose that's part of your evolution and journey with this as well, though, right? Is that and equally, I think it's massively important to answer the questions of why and how. They are the two things that drive us really as human beings. In any case, I've actually spoke about this in my last podcast of the last season with Harry Murray, who's an absolute legend, and he brought up Simon Sinek. Funnily enough, just can't avoid the man, can you? And he obviously talks about the start with why, but I did hear something recently from a chap called Marcus something. I can't remember his surname, and he spoke about the importance of the what.
Mm,
The why is massively important as to the reason why you do something, but actually you won't get any fulfillment if you're not enjoying the what about that why thing that
yeah,
you're doing. So
yeah,
yeah, it's it's a massively important subject. I think it's not discussed enough. And actually, if you then take, and I really don't want this to be a big world podcast because we have our own little world that we're trying to make
mm,
better. But in the end, I've used a very sweeping statement is that we'll basically we all win if we have a collaborative mindset, because it
yeah,
means that everyone in that process, whatever it is that you're doing, if you focus on everyone coming out of that in a good place. And it's a kind of very old principled rule of business. If you walk away from a table in a deal and one party is very, very happy and the other party is a bit bemused, then that's never going to last. It's never going to make the fullness of time. But if you walk away from that meeting and both parties are happy, then sparks fly and good stuff happens. And all of the things that optimism allows you to think about is possible then.
Yes, exactly that thought. It's that mind. It's not such a mindset, because we can all be very logical about it, and that's the transactional side of collaboration. But it's more a heart set, where you realize that if you can be kind to someone, if you can help them. So imagine, for example, you've got an event going on, as I said, and waiters going backwards and forwards, and there's one waiter who is constantly dropping stuff, and there's another person, waiters, looking at them going, oh, for goodness sake, just driving me nuts. Why can't they get it right? Look, the whole team are working and they're just spoiling it for everyone, and negative. But if they pause for a heartbeat and think, why are they dropping things all the time? What's going on? Is it something going on in their life? Are they distracted? Have they got physical problems? Is it emotional problems? Whatever. And they take time to go over and say, are you okay? Can I help? I've noticed this is going on, rather than, why the hell are you dropping stuff all the time? It's that heart set to be kind. And that's another bumper sticker you said earlier, isn't it? Kindness is caring. And no, I can't remember what it was now, but
it was genius, whatever it was. Yeah.
It was genius. It was indeed. You're full of it.
I'm certainly full of it. Yeah.
But it's taking that heartbeat moment, rather than to react in the way probably 90% of us would do. Like, oh, for goodness sake, you can feel it in your head when it's like, when you get frustrated with someone, go, okay, let's go and help. What can I do to help that person? And then that lifts them up, which then lifts the team up, and other people can see that. So then that shows you, as the individual that went over to say, can I help? It's like, oh, wow, weren't they nice? That shows you as the leader in that scenario. So hang on.
Yeah.
If you've done that to help your fellow team members without any instruction, your boss hasn't told you to do that, you've just gone off your own back to see if you can help someone. Well, when there's a vacancy for promotion, that sort of thing is going to be noticed and remembered, because it's you taking your initiative to make things better. But not just to make things better, like moving the dinner plates so they're the right way around, the practical stuff. It's making things better for the emotional well-being of the team. And we all get frustrated, but if we can park that sometimes, because that trigger that comes inside of us when we do get annoyed with people is usually our stuff. It's stuff that goes on, like
it totally is. Yeah, it's all about it's emotional intelligence ultimately is what we're talking I suppose about in this moment, is that whatever you've got going on in your own space that's leading to you being under pressure, maybe you're worried about your bills, all manner of stuff that can happen to you in life. And then something happens in front of you at your workplace. It takes a special individual to capture that moment and not just allow the emotion that they're experiencing at that point to be the overriding emotion that they're going to go into that scenario with. And if you can catch yourself before you emit your first response. I actually wrote an article called the importance of your emitted first response in terms of the impact that then has on that person, which then has an impact on the next person, and so on and so forth. And then ultimately, you come back from a very, very basic business perspective when it comes to hospitality, is that emotional connection that you were talking about with the team comes across in the way that you deal with the public and the way that you're delivering an experience to the guest. And therefore, if that's a positive experience for somebody, then they'll talk about it, they'll come back, all of these things. If they're just feeling that they're in a place of stress, then the likelihood is the reason why they came there in the first place was to get away from the stress. So I'm not going to go somewhere that's going to impart more stress into the situation. We had it for my birthday meal, actually, this year, back in January. We had a new restaurant opened the previous year in Bishop Stortford. We wanted to go and experience it. Went along, It was a Wednesday night in the middle of January, which is
Wow,
not
went out
a
on school
buoyant, wasn't a buoyant night to go out on by any stretch of the imagination. There was
Yeah,
maybe 7 or 8 tables in play from a restaurant that has maybe 30 odd tables. And the team were amazing, really, really amazing, very engaged. My kind of service, they were really kind of tongue in cheek, bit cheeky. I liked all that. It was really quite
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
And then I don't know who it was, but I can only imagine it was a manager of some description came into the restaurant, I think only to pick up something from staff room, whatever.
Mm.
Rinsed them for playing the wrong music, for the wrong atmosphere. They were just this horrible face on them about about everything. Everything was wrong. What you're doing is wrong, and all of that. And I was thinking to myself, do you know what? Rather than just rinsing them, why don't you come and ask the people who are here whether they're ruining things?
Yeah,
Because after she left, the atmosphere was completely different.
that,
Everybody was
yeah,
scared to be themselves and to bring the best version of themselves to the party for fear of retribution. And I think that's, from a collaboration perspective, I think it's certainly from my perspective, it's massively important that you, this kind of comes back to your original point about taking yourself out of the emotional equation and actually having
mm,
empathy towards what's going on.
yeah.
And I suppose there, by definition, empathy is a massive part of collaboration.
Yes, yes, indeed, and compassion. Compassion. While you tell that story, can I give a shout out to one of my favourite hotels
Absolutely.
because of the culture that goes on there? I just love it. If you get a chance to go, I think there's 6 now. They're called the Pig.
Oh yes, we've had Tom Ross, who's now the MD. He's been on the show.
Amazing. And everyone, we've been to several of them now, and they're my sort of favourite place to go. And we've stayed the night and we've spent afternoons there, and they do amazing things. But wherever you go, it's the same ambiance, it's the same energy, it's the staff are on it. They're like, they want you to have a good time.
Yeah.
Where if you go to somewhere like the Ritz, yes, I have been to the Ritz.
Well, actually,
They are
I'm going in 2 weeks.
you're going to love it, but you'll see the difference from the
Yeah,
Pig to the Ritz. And don't get me wrong, the Ritz is awesome, but they are all very professional and you barely get eye contact with anyone. And as you say, when you have a little bit of a repartee and a chat with them, it's quite good fun. And it kind of makes your occasion. But at the Ritz, you don't really want to talk to anybody because you're like, oh, he's doing his job and he's very good.
yeah,
But the Pig, it's like they'll chat, they tell you about the wine, they love the food. They're not just telling you what's on the menu. They're like, oh my, you love this because, and it's cooked like this. And we get it from across the way and they know where it's all come from, 25-mile radius. And they brand themselves as home from home. So you can use any of the rooms, the lounges, the newspapers. It's like treating it like it's your own place. Yeah.
yeah.
And it doesn't take much. And I think the guy that owns it, or there's a couple of them that own it, used to own hotels as well.
Malmaison and Hotel de Van. Yes, Robin
Yes.
Hutton.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That's it, Robin. And you can see where they practiced that and they knew what they were doing. And they're like, right, let's do it properly now.
yeah.
And even the
We were playing
decor.
then.
Yeah, exactly. And we all
Yeah,
learn somewhere, don't we? And
yeah.
the decor and everything is just very spot on. There's another one as a one-off is the greenhouse at Bournemouth.
Okay.
And they
Yep,
call
I
it the
don't know that one.
greenhouse because everything is recycled. So they are so climate change friendly. Everything they recycle. All the furniture has come from an old school or an old church, and it's been upscaled. The carpets have all come from sheep and been woven, and sort of not wall carpets, but they are it's just really clever ways. The bottles are all recycled glass. The water is recycled. I don't know how they do that. I didn't really ask. But
Yeah,
again,
we'll not
everyone
go
is
there.
everyone is so proud to be in this space, and they just show off with, oh yes, and we do this, and we do this, and it's like, oh, you're so lovely,
Yeah,
and that just comes across. Why anybody would want to run hospitality space with command and control is beyond me, because
yeah,
it just that energy just, and I think people know about that more now. There's not many places like you've just described. I think
yeah.
maybe that manager or owner was having a bad day.
Well, and that could also be the case, right? And that's the and that's for me to I suppose, get that solid in my brain again that actually they could have just come off the phone and had the worst news ever and just
Yeah.
walked into that in that moment, and
Yeah.
it comes down to that ethos. Another ethos that I like to live by is that simple phrase. It's not my own. I nicked it from a movie, but it's forget everything you think you know. Like you don't know what
Mm.
whoever, if you're coming into a collaboration or you're coming into a deal that you want to make with a company. There was this old adage of, I remember being taught this all the way back at the beginning of my career, that if you're going into a room to make a deal in business, is that
Mm-hmm.
you be the most prepared person in the room. Like, you
Mm.
know more than everyone else, and you spend time to get yourself that way. And whilst I believe that some of that rings true, it's good to know what you're going into for sure. I actually think being the most curious person in the room is a way better way to approach it, because you're then it's the same principle. If you're going to a networking event, the best way to network is to shut up and just listen and just ask good questions around, what do you do?
Yes.
What's your genius? What do you get out of bed for in the morning? All of these sorts of things, because
Yeah.
then and actually I've learned this over the years with networking. If you take that approach and you do it for long enough, you literally can sit or stand in the one place and the room comes to you gradually. You don't
Yeah.
it's such a, you literally don't have to do any steps at all. You
Yeah.
just let the room come to you. So
Yeah.
it's yeah, I think it is. It's just about parking your ego, isn't it? You don't know anything about the other person other than what might be available in the stratosphere. And let's face it, we all are responsible for making ourselves look good on things like LinkedIn and the like.
Yes.
But ultimately, these things tell you nothing about the human. And so go into every conversation that you have with somebody as if, what's that line in Philadelphia? Talk to me as if I'm a 6-year-old. I, you know,
I thought I invented that one.
yeah,
It's true though. I used to be a networking tart, to be fair, and I would go in and I would be
that's do I.
training people. I used to train people on how to network, and I used to train the franchise owners and the directors and everything on how to do it. And one of the things when people do their 60-second pitch and they stand up and they talk about their business, and I said, look, just talk to me like I'm 6 years old, or go and practice with a 6-year-old. Go find one, because if they can repeat back what you do and what your message is, then you've got it right. But if they can't tell you what you do, like, what? You're too complicated. You're using tech jargon and I won't understand. I'm telling you, I'm 6 years old. And if you don't keep it really simple for me, I haven't got a clue and I've forgotten you already
Yeah,
because I'm going on to the next person. So it's about being memorable. And you know how you can be memorable? Really good ways, what you've just said, listen to people. When you're
yeah,
in that room and you're networking, irrespective of your 60-second pitch, put that to one side. You're more memorable by listening to people and understanding them and empathizing with them and showing compassion with them and asking them what their problems are, than you just spouting, and I do this, and I do this, and I do this, and I can help you with that, and this is how much I charge.
yeah.
Well, everyone's turned off by the second
Yeah, that's not the
sentence.
way you build a relationship with somebody, is it? Ultimately, that's, and what you're really trying to do to underpin any potential that a collaboration has is actually build a relationship
Yeah,
with someone, a meaningful one, something that will actually, you have an epiphany moment at 9:30 p.m. on a Tuesday night, and you go, I need to,
yeah,
and it's that person I need to speak to. I don't know why, but here we are.
yeah.
And these are, that's how you build the collaborative network out. Certainly from my experience. Sorry, I've kind of, maybe you have something else.
Well, one of the things I was going to say that I love that I do, that again, it's in the book, but I start any collaboration. We have a meeting and we set up the rules of the game. And this stems from the book Be More Pirate. And I
Yeah,
would recommend this book to anybody. And we've had the author of the How to Be More Pirate book come and speak at one of our events. Well, two of our events actually. She's come along, and basically the pirates used to have the pirate code, and they were ahead of their time, sort of 300 years ago. They would have same-sex marriages. They would share out the bounty. There was no one person in charge, although there was a captain. There was always the first mate, and there was more than one person in charge. But they all chose what was going to go on the pirate code for that voyage. So we've rewritten that into the rules of the game. And the rules of the game are, what are your values? Let's see if we're aligned with each other. What's your purpose for this collaboration, as well as the purpose of the collaboration itself? What are your triggers? When you're under stress, what really pisses you off? What really gets you go? And what's gonna make you snap and crack? Because if we know it now, before we're under stress, we can be aware of it and tiptoe around you if necessary.
Yeah.
But if you know each other's stress points, sometimes you can help them to unpack that and where's it come from before you actually get into the collaboration, because then everyone's stronger. So you learn from each other along the way. So you find out what your trigger points are. You find out possibly what limiting beliefs are around that you can share. So it might take an hour, 2 hours to go through that for a collaboration of three or four people. But what well spent, and that information stays on view. And so we use Trello boards. So that meeting that we have goes on the Trello board. So if anybody's got something that's just annoying about that other person, just go, hang on, what are their values? Let's see okay, maybe I can talk to them about that value, and maybe they'll cotton on that they're not having their integrity in the right place. Or maybe you go, oh, that's one of their triggers. I wonder why that's a trigger. I'll go and have a conversation. Now you're not going, and another thing you did, you're going, you seem to be a bit stressed. Should we have a conversation about it? What's happening here that we can make it go more smoothly.
Yeah.
Now, when you're coming to a collaboration from a place of love, you get through the sticky stuff and you come out the other end because you've laid the foundations through the rules of the game. But when you go to a collaboration with what's in it for you and what's in it for me, if there's any sticky stuff, which, if you've got a project 3-6 months, there will be. It's called life. Somebody will have suffered something or been ill or not been able to do what they were supposed to have done. If you've got that sticky stuff and you haven't got that groundwork and those foundations, quite often somebody will just throw their toys out the pram and walk away, and all the work you've done so far is gone, wasted.
Yeah.
No point.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of value of the difference of the two types. The society we've been brought up in, the transactional society, the consumerist society, the capitalist society, and the new society called Collaboration Global, where we don't know what all the answers are. But you know what? We know there's some solutions out there. And if we bring enough clever people together, we'll find a way forward together in harmony for a joint purpose that's going to benefit other people, not just us going, hey, let's earn lots of money. Because I don't think everyone needs that now. I mean, don't get me wrong, we all need some money because we can do a lot with it. But people don't need stuff anymore. They've learned that stuff is just damaging our planet. We don't need to have 3 or 4 cars on the drive. Oh, I collect cars. Oh, I collect Rolex watches. Oh, we don't need all that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
And I think the world is waking up to that. And that's another blessing of the pandemic. I think we've realized what's important, and it's the relationships that we build.
Yeah. Well, everything, I mean, it's the same as optimism, but everything's possible. But you can, here's another saying, no man is an island, right? That's another, you can't hope to get through life just by trying to cope with everything on your own. It's, there's so many things, and indeed you can make more of an impact by bringing other people on the journey with you. That's actually been part of my journey. I've always been a big thinker. I believe that I can change the world in some way. Absolutely. But for a lot of the time, it's been about it's my journey. And now, as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that actually that's just restricting my own potential by just being closed to, this is my thing, I'm going to do this. This is, if the more people we bring along, the more good we can do, and so on and so forth. And it's, it is a journey, isn't it?
Yeah. And for me, the thought of trying to do something on my own, in my own strength, is just futile. I mean, I'm the world's worst person for asking for help. My family were brought up that you didn't do that. You rolled your sleeves up and you got on with it. And there's a very sad story about my nan and my mum, and and it's just passed down the generations. But I now realize that because I've done some work on myself, and I can now separate myself from that space. And I go, can I have some help,
Yep.
please. And it's still a challenge for me, but that's the only way you can make a big difference and a bigger impact. So for me, if I make a small impact, if anyone comes to any of our collaboration global meetings, and at the end we all say, what have you got out of it? You've taken any actions? Who would you like to thank for anything? And somebody goes, oh, when so and so said that, it was like, oh, I couldn't believe it. I'm going to do that tomorrow. Now, that's a simple thing. I've earned not a penny out of that. It's taken me a long time to put the event on. I was very grateful that this person showed up, but they got something out of it. I'm like, job done. That's
Yep.
Collaboration Global in a heartbeat, just because they've got something that blew their mind and they can take away and they're going to do something about it. Now, imagine if that was multiplied by a million.
Yeah. I know.
What
I
could
know.
happen? What
But
could happen?
you have a golden number, don't you? You're looking for.
Yes, 834. It's not a big number.
No. And why is that the number, Jill?
Okay. So, as I said to you before, I've done loads of research over the last decade. And one of the things I found is a guy called David Hawkins, who's written a book about the levels of consciousness of society. And he talks about how you can go from grief all the way up to joy and beyond, but you can't kind of leapfrog from one to the other. You have to kind of go through the motions. You don't have to go through every single one. So, if you've got a group of people who are bereaved, there is this energy around them that ripples out and that becomes catching for other people. And if you've
Right.
got a
Yeah.
group of people that are filled with joy, it's the same thing. It ripples out and society catches that joy. So he's saying that there's a mathematical equation whereby if you have a group of people with a culture that is dynamic and ongoing, if you have enough people within a society, and that mathematical equation is something like 1% of the square root of the population, or it could be the square root of 1% of the population. Don't quote me on it, read his book.
Yeah.
But somebody went away and did the calculation for us and came back and said, for the UK, it's 834. And I'm like, hello, that's a doable number.
Mm.
Because if Collaboration Global gets big enough, 834, it then creates this boom effect where people are aware of the culture, get attracted to the culture because they're like, hang on, this is interesting. What's going on over here? They seem to be having a good time. They seem to be doing a lot of collaborations. They seem to be generating a lot of interest and noise and income and what's going on. And
Yes.
then we get the exponential growth. And then it just hits the tipping point and it goes. So, I'm not sure if his theory is right. I'm not sure how often he's proven it, but it makes a lot of sense to me. So I'm going
Yeah.
to go with that. I'm going to believe that and see if I can keep plugging away. And, I might not see it in my lifetime, but I just feel that, as I say, if one person gets something out of it, I'm happy. But if I can get it big enough that it gives us a seat at the table to talk to people that have no concept of what you and I have been talking about today. They've done no personal development. They've been a politician or something like, or
Yes. That was a
um,
controversial statement, but very true.
that's going to go in the quote, isn't it? Or somebody that's been in industry, for a long time and one of our leaders of industry, but they've actually, maybe they're a narcissist and they've not actually caught up with any personal development. It's like they don't have a clue of what we're about, but I'd love to be able to share with them and they'll listen to me now and go, oh, she's silly. She's talking all about love. What, soft skills, what's that's all about? No. And then she's such an optimist. Oh, she's so naive. That's what I would get now. But if
Yeah.
we had a community that was bigger and people were getting it and people were collaborating and we were living from that place of love and connection and abundance, which is a huge mindset and a huge heart set, there's enough out there for everyone. It's just the distribution's a bit wonky at the moment.
Yes.
We don't have to have homeless people. We don't have to have food banks. Every time I say that, I think of my mother. She would be mortified, having gone through World War II with rationing, and now to find out there are food banks in most towns. She would find that,
Yeah.
she'd turn over in her grave. She really would. It was just awful. And we shouldn't have that. We shouldn't need that because there's enough food in the world
Yeah.
for everybody to be fed.
No, absolutely. I could not agree more. Yeah, it's one of those situations, I suppose, is that you just want to create enough that there's like a wall around it, and people are just peering over the wall, going,
Yeah.
what are they doing over there? Why are they happy all the bloody time?
Yeah, Yeah, and sometimes we're not happy all the time, but we know a better way of getting out of it.
Yeah.
Because of this awareness, this, and also if somebody is unhappy in the community, they've got people they can go to say, I've had a really bad day, it's been terrible, and they're like, oh, okay, how can I help, what can I do,
Yeah.
without having to go to a coach and pay them a fortune, or it's just a phone call to someone that's looking after them, who's going to be there for them, who's committed to say, right, I'll be part of that group of people that's going to look after each other. So we're all kind of connected in those ways. And yeah, Phil, it is naive, it is optimistic, but you know what? When it works, it's just so joyous. And when people come to the guest meeting and they go, I don't know what it is, but it's a different energy in here. That fills me with joy, because that's what we're aiming for, different to what people are used to. It's this goldfish bowl where normal life, pre-pandemic, out in the world, the media, the world that we know, education, political system, is the murky water. So if we're a goldfish swimming around in this goldfish bowl full of murky water, you kind of get used to it, and you don't even see it as murky. You think that's what life is like. And I want to consider that people can go into this fresh, clean bowl of water. They can jump from one to the other and look around and go, oh my goodness, look at how dirty my old water was. And this is amazing. This is fresh. People listen to me. People care about me. People want to help me, and I want to help them. And I want to see if we can collaborate, and I want to see if we can do great things for all those poor people that are still left in the murky water.
Yeah.
It's not too much to ask, is it?
It's definitely is not. And actually, you used the word naive there. What I've come to learn recently, only recently, and this came from another conversation that I had with founders of the Manchester gin company, which is lovely, by the way.
Okay, I'll check that one out. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And they spoke about the fact that they probably wouldn't have a business if they hadn't been naive.
Oh,
And I
love
really
that.
loved that. I really
Yeah.
loved the concept of actually naivety can be the thing that doesn't hold you back. It's
Yeah.
like, we're just going to do this and we don't have a clue what we're doing, but we're going to do it. But if they had taken a moment to think all of that through, that we might not be talking about a world-class gin product that's hit the marketplace. And I wonder then how many businesses are the same.
Yeah.
If they had just thought about it to an nth degree. So now, like, I'm thinking naivety is a wonderful trait to have when it
Yes. I
comes
like
to
that. It's
pushing boundaries.
It's like people say, to establish successful businesses, if you knew then what you know now,
Yeah,
what advice would you give me? And they say, if I knew then what I know now, I wouldn't have started. I
indeed.
wouldn't have done it. I'd have run to the hills. And I'm a bit like that, that we've done so much work and put so much into it. I mean, written 2 books is not, you can't do that in a blink of an eye.
No.
I wouldn't be without them now. And even the platform that we have, it takes a lot of effort to keep the knowledge and information going in there and keeping it connected to everybody. But it's my lifeblood now. So even on my worst days, and I go, oh, Gill, for goodness sake, kick yourself out of it. And I can't, and I'm down, and I'm grumpy, and I'm fed up. And they're like, all right, Gill, you're not doing it anymore. Stop it. Don't do it anymore. Stop it. Just don't give it up. Tell someone else to do it. Don't do another thing. And I'm like, but I like doing it. And then all of a sudden it's like, I couldn't do anything else. I'd love other people to do it with me, so I don't have too much to do myself, but that's just
Yeah.
logistics. That's nothing important. I couldn't not do this now, because I see so many people getting so much from it that it's like, how would I dare to stop doing it? Because the belief is still there that one day it can hit that tipping point and we can then really get going and make a difference. And it only takes something to go viral, or someone to pick it up and run with it, or just bit by bit by bit. We're not in a rush. Slowly by slowly, we get more and more people.
Yeah, but I mean, the caliber of people that you've had through the door to give talks and things is, and that just seems to be getting better and better and better. And it's people that some people would have heard of, like you, as you said, the lady who wrote "Be More Pirate."
Yeah, Alex.
It was a prime example. But then there's other people that you wouldn't have heard of who have just as much genius around their chosen specialist subjects. And I think it is, as you say, the thing for me that I've always loved about it is that you could, whatever kind of a day you're having, you can go into your group and you'll come out of it just feeling like everything's possible again. Like I've been re-energized. People have just given me their energy free of charge, and
Yeah.
and I feel like I can do this again. Like I can crack on. And you guys absolutely saved me through the pandemic in terms of that moment whereby I wasn't sure what was going to happen business wise. What, how, is there any income? I don't know. What am I going to do if that is going to be the way forever now? Blah blah blah. All
Scary.
these things, and
Yeah.
actually just to have a positive focal point of a place to go was heaven, absolute heaven.
Thank you. Oh, that's good to know. Thank you.
Bless. I'm not
And
going to
and
cry.
I think where's my tissue? Yeah, it's a bit like that, and it's those kind of stories that we get like that. I mean, there's an old one that I tell again and again about a guy who, this was when we used to meet live, was doing a presentation. He was a very slick, very cool dude. He was a sales guy. And he, at the end of his presentation, happened to mention that he hadn't spoken to his dad for a little while. And you could see the audience kind of go, oh, okay. And then after the meeting, people came up to him and gone, why haven't you rung your dad? Why haven't you spoken to your dad? What's going on? No, it's fine. It's fine. I don't need to talk about it. And let's go on, ring him up. Why don't you be the grown up, ring him up. And he wasn't going to do it, but people kind of nudged him to do it. To the extent that we gave him some coaching around it, and we sent him on a little course to go on, which he did. He's like, oh, all right, I will. And bit by bit, and this was over a period of about 6 months. And then he came back and he said, oh, could I just mention something at the end of the meeting? We're like, yeah, sure. So he stood up at the end. He went, thanks to you lot. He said, I've made that phone call and I've spoken to my dad. And because I've spoken to my dad, I've now spoken to my brother, who I also hadn't spoken to for 7 years. Last weekend, my dad came to my house and met his grandchildren that he didn't know existed. My children got to meet their granddad that they didn't know exist. Fast forward a little bit, everyone's happy families and it's lovely. But a year later from that date, his dad died.
Jeez.
So if people in the community hadn't cared enough to just keep on why don't you ring him? What was so bad? Go on. Is there nothing you can... and that was coming from some people who had been abused by their dad when they were young, and they'd actually nursed him when he was dying. So, and she was saying, look, I've had this experience. You've got to forgive your dad. You've got to let it go. Pick the phone up and call him. So it was extraordinary, the stuff we learned about each other in that. But that's a typical example of nobody earned any money out of that, but it was priceless to that guy.
Yeah. I mean, what to say? I mean, the power of forgiveness. There are, if ever you have any doubts of what's forgivable, just go onto YouTube and enter in stories of forgiveness. Oh my God. Yeah. It's but without it, there's so many. Again, forgiveness is just it's something, and it's very easy to say this, of course, if you're not in a situation whereby you don't have anything particularly dark that you need to get past and the like. But there are phenomenal stories of forgiveness. It shows you that everything is possible. Again, I would say that though, wouldn't I?
Well, when I hear one particular lady tell us this story about how her dad had abused her from the age of about 5 to 16, and she thought it was normal. She thought everybody woke up screaming and had nightmares every single night. For 40 years, she had nightmares until she found somebody that helped her with that. And in one session of thought field therapy, she was cured, and she slept the night, and she's like, oh my God, is this what normal people are like? So she went, I need to find out how to do that. So she did. She went off and she got trained in it, and then she helps other people with all of their kind of issues, and then she was able to forgive. So sometimes you have to go through some therapy or some treatment in order to
but again,
away that.
That's a collaborative process as well, isn't it? That's the thing, is that there are definitely circumstances that will hit your life that you can't deal with on your own. You don't have the tools, or you can't get out of your own way in order to get to that thing that you need. And sometimes you need somebody to help you get there.
Yep. Where, as you say, no man is an island, and knowing you've got someone you can call on, even if they're not your nearest and dearest, sometimes it's better to call on people that aren't your nearest and dearest, so that you can be open and authentic and genuine, and be your real self, and then you can get to the nitty gritty of what's holding you back. Sometimes you don't know what's holding you back, and you get that opportunity to have that conversation, and they ask you the right questions, and you're like, damn it, that's good.
Yeah. It's absolutely. I'm a little conscious of time, but there is a question that I'd like to ask you. I suppose as a kind of takeaway for the listeners and anyone who's kind of had their interest sparked in collaboration, where should somebody start if they're interested in collaboration, and what tools do they need in order to become a master collaborator? That's two questions.
Oh, okay. What tools do they need? I think they need to be connected to who they are. And that might mean going to, get some support, get a personal life coach to kind of pick away at, what are your limiting beliefs? Maybe you don't even know what they are, but everyone's got them. What are your triggers and why are they there? And understand what drives you, what motivates you. Do you have a purpose? Do you understand what your genius is? Do you know what your talent is? What legacy do you want to leave? All of these little questions, it kind of gives you this ownership of self, who you are and what you can create. And then you go and mix with other people that are like that. And you go and mix with other people that have got a similar purpose to you. And you go, this is what I want to do in the world. This is the legacy I want to leave. Someone else will go, actually, I'd like to, should we have a chat? Because I'd quite like to do that as well. Or this is my passion. And how did you know that? And let's do something together. And then you come together and then you just go and get the book. Together we can do something wonderful.
Yeah.
And you just follow that format to that collaboration, and you can create something amazing. And don't think about it too hard, because if you think, oh, it's never going to happen, I could never do it. Sometimes if you think I want it done by next Christmas, you might be a bit too optimistic. Here's me saying a bit too optimistic. But making a start is the first thing, and it's asking for help, and that's tough for some people. But it is asking for help and finding the right people in there. So yeah, get to know yourself, and that's a huge asset for your business, for everything. That's that sense of, I'm worth it. I am good enough. I can do this. I will do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it now. And it's that kind. But having that energy in you lasts for so long. So be around other people with that energy, and you fuel each other going forward. And then when you're in a collaboration, you'll find the energy, oh, I'm really high energy today, and then tomorrow I'm a little bit low and they're a bit high, and you work together to create it. So bit by bit, don't have to put a timeline on it, but you'll pull it together. And before you know it, you've done a substantial body of work that you can look back on and go, that was me. I did that. That's incredible. Yeah. And you'll see the people that you're helping, because that's the ultimate collaboration. The first thing is, who is this collaboration going to help? And once you know who you're going to help, that's your motivation, and you, how dare you not do it?
Yeah, you've used that one on me before. But it's true. Like, especially if it's a genius idea and the world needs to know it. How dare you not tell the world? It's powerful stuff. Powerful stuff.
We'll finish that book one day. I'm not going to let you off.
No. It's that, but this is the thing. Maybe you and I need to speak more often, because every time I come away from conversations with you, I'm re-motivated to get back writing again, because I think probably within me there's still that little bit of self-doubt that I'm good enough. And every time we have conversations and I hear myself out loud, and this is not me trying to be arrogant, I like we were talking earlier on about kindness, and I was going, look how you just reeled that stuff off, Phil. Like, something here. So so I'll have you back on next week if that's all right.
Okay. Can I have a regular slot?
Yeah. Indeed. No, that's great. If people want to pick up your book, I'm assuming a large online retailer will have said
that's
books.
That one that's
Yeah.
The forest, the Amazon forest person. Right. Yeah, if you just look for me, GILLTINEY, you'll see all the books there.
Brilliant. Yeah, all 4 of them.
All 4 of them, yeah.
And if they want to learn more about Collaboration Global or just reach out to you to learn more about you and what you do, what's the best method for them to do that?
Well, you can go to collaborationglobal.org, the website, and then on there's a little link that you can click to book to come to one of our sessions, and they're always the last Tuesday of the month, 3 till 5 UK time. You can find me on LinkedIn, just look for Gill Tiney, or you can send me an email. Old school, eh?
Yeah.
gill@collaborationglobal.org.
Fantastic. Gill, thank you so much. I can't believe it's taken us this long to do this, to be honest, but given the fact that the podcast is nearly 2.5 years old now, but there we are.
Ouch.
Jeez, how did that happen?
You got there in the end. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No worries at all. Take care.
Cheers.
Bye-bye. And there we have it. If you've had your head turned by the thought of being more collaborative, then you really should reach out to Gill. She is awesome. A huge thank you to her for coming on the show. We'll be back on Wednesday at 8 PM with another belter of a story from hospitality, but until then, thanks for listening, and we'll see you then.